You know that feeling when you're talking to a friend or maybe your partner and they casually compliment something you just bought?
Oh, yeah. Like a new jacket or something.
Right. And before you even process the thought, you just reflexively blurt out like, "Oh, it was on sale."
Yeah, totally. Or I've had this forever.
Exactly. You offer up this full financial justification when literally nobody asked for the backstory.
Right, they just liked the jacket.
Yeah. Or um, think about the opposite end of that spectrum, like
Right.
avoiding your banking app for days, not because you forgot to check your balance, but out of this pure visceral dread.
Oh, man. The digital equivalent of covering your eyes during a scary movie.
Yes. Just hoping that, if you don't look at the monster, it won't actually get you.
We laugh off those little deflections, but I mean, those tiny moments of avoidance are actually the surface level symptoms of something much deeper.
Which is exactly what our deep dive is about today. We are unpacking the psychology of financial shame and really the architecture of why we lie about money.
It's such a massive topic.
It really is.
Mhm.
And our mission today is to uncover why money makes us so secretive. Like, what is physically happening in our brains when we hide a purchase or a debt?
Mhm.
And how do we stop this shame from, quietly dictating our life choices?
And we've got some incredible sources to pull from today.
Yeah, we're looking at institutional research, like data from the National Endowment for Financial Education, plus some studies from the Journal of Consumer Research.
And that amazing work by behavioral economist Senhil Mullainathan.
Right. So before we get into the why, I feel like we need to understand the sheer scale of the what, because we always think we're the only ones hiding this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. You'd think hiding a shopping bag in the trunk of your car before you walk into the house is this rare, quirky thing.
Right, like a sitcom trope or something.
But if you look at that National Endowment for Financial Education data, it's wild. Almost 2 out of 3 people who share a life with a partner admit to lying about money at least once.
2 out of 3. That is wow.
Yeah, and 4 in 10 actively hide purchases, debts, or even entire bank accounts.
Entire accounts? That's not just a little white lie.
No, it takes work. And get this, nearly half of Gen Z already has a money secret they are actively keeping from someone close to them.
That is just wild to me. But you know what stat really anchors this whole thing for me?
Which one?
The success rate. 3 out of 4 people who lie about money report that they are never caught.
Never caught. That is staggering.
Right. It means people aren't just making, passing omissions. They are conducting these sophisticated, ongoing, covert operations in their own houses.
Think about the cognitive labor required for that. It means intentionally choosing cash so there's no paper trail.
Or, intercepting the mail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Managing separate logins, filtering digital receipts. I mean, people are expending a massive amount of mental energy to maintain a completely separate financial reality.
And society is really starting to treat that separate reality with some serious weight.
Yep.
The surveys show 4 in 10 Americans now equate financial secrets to physical infidelity.
Wow. So the breach of trust is viewed through the exact same lens.
Yes, we have essentially turned money into the last true taboo. I mean, think about it. You go to a dinner party today,
Oh, people will overshare about everything.
literally everything. They'll openly discuss their failing marriage, detail their therapy sessions, broadcast their medical histories on social media.
But ask them about their bank balance.
Right. If you ask about their debt, the walls instantly go up.
You can actually watch their physical posture change. The arms crossed, they look away.
Yeah. We've turned money into a scoreboard for self-worth, and absolutely nobody wants to voluntarily reveal a losing position.
And the worst part is that silence is entirely self-reinforcing because no one at that dinner party is talking honestly about it. Everyone assumes they're the only ones struggling.
So everyone sits there projecting stability while secretly panicking inside.
Exactly. Which just makes the isolation and the shame feel so much heavier.
So if this behavior is so widespread and honestly so corrosive, what is actually happening in our brains? Why prioritize secrecy over our relationships?
Well, psychologists actually frame this as identity protection.
Identity protection.
Yeah. It's basically an evolutionary defense mechanism, just mapped onto modern personal finance. When we make a financial misstep, we don't process it logically.
Look, we don't just see it as a math error.
Right. Admitting a money mistake feels like confessing a fundamental character flaw.
Okay, wait, let me push back on that just a little bit.
Sure.
Because, if I go to the mall and put that shopping bag in the trunk, isn't it highly possible I'm just exhausted and want to avoid a stupid argument with my spouse? Does it have to be about my identity?
That's a fair question. The friction of an argument is definitely the immediate trigger. But you have to ask why the stakes of that argument feel so unbearably high.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
The lie is rarely about the literal paper money, It's about avoiding the judgment attached to the item.
So if my partner sees the bag, they might think I'm reckless.
Exactly. They might view you as out of control or incapable. So you hide it because you are protecting the image you've built of yourself as a responsible adult.
Wow. So that low hum of anxiety just becomes the background noise of your life.
Yeah. Smiling at your friend's new house while your own credit card debt is just humming in your brain.
It's pure cognitive dissonance. And what's crazy is that researchers have actually quantified this. The Journal of Consumer Research developed a literal financial infidelity scale.
Which is fascinating because it doesn't just track the lies themselves, right?
Right. It measures your propensity for preemptive financial deception.
The planning of it.
Exactly. It evaluates how people purposefully orchestrate their lives to avoid detection. Like specifically, choosing a payment method solely because it won't leave a trail.
Or opening a store credit card just to keep the balance off the main household ledger.
Secrecy literally becomes a built-in feature of how they spend. It's not just a moment of panic.
And that takes us straight to the mechanism of why we trap ourselves here. If you look at Senthil Mullainathan's work on scarcity.
Oh, this stuff is mind-blowing.
It really is. His research shows that when we experience scarcity, whether it's money, time, or emotional bandwidth, our cognitive capacity physically narrows.
It's like trying to navigate rush hour traffic in a blizzard while doing long division in your head.
That is the perfect analogy. The mental load of maintaining the secret, tracking the lies, stressing about the debt, it literally crowds out your brain's ability to plan.
You're at maximum capacity, just trying not to crash today.
Right. Under that narrowed bandwidth, your brain prioritizes short-term ego relief over long-term honesty. Hiding the bill gives you an instant hit of relief.
Even though you are actively building a massive bomb for your relationship later on.
Exactly. You survive the moment, but you mortgage the future.
It really reframes the whole concept of a money lie. It's not malice. It's a panicked, overloaded brain just trying to survive.
Which brings up this counterintuitive truth from the research. Because, we assume the people doing this are just, quote-unquote, bad with money.
Right. We picture someone who has never read a finance book in their life.
But the paradox is that highly responsible, financially literate people often carry the deepest shame.
Yes, because their entire identity is staked on being the smart one.
Exactly. If your whole self-image is built on being the responsible anchor of the family, one misstep feels fatal. It threatens everything.
Whereas people who have faced, like, highly visible financial hardships, a public bankruptcy, they're often way more open.
Because the worst has already happened. The monster came out, it ate the house, and they survived. The facade is gone, so they're free to just exist in reality.
That makes so much sense. But it's also interesting how this shame evolves as we age. The sources outline 3 distinct life stages of financial secrecy.
Right, starting with the foundation stage, which is roughly your 20s into your mid-30s.
Yeah, that first real income hits.
Yeah.
And you just desperately want to present as a fully formed adult.
Which immediately leads to lifestyle inflation. You upgrade the wardrobe, the apartment.
The brunches. You cultivate this highly polished surface, but underneath you have zero savings.
And you can't admit you're struggling because that feels like failing at adulthood.
Right. And then you hit the pressure stage, mid-30s to mid-40s.
This is where secrecy gets its absolute strongest grip.
Because now it's about being the provider.
Exactly. You're juggling a mortgage, kids, maybe aging parents. Admitting financial strain here feels like letting your whole family down.
Which sets up a huge collision for the final stage, the correction stage, mid-40s to mid-50s.
Peak earning collides with peak spending, and retirement anxiety becomes the massive elephant in the room.
The sources have this really poignant story about a guy named Robert. He's 47, making more money than ever, but he's carrying this paralyzing fear about having no retirement savings.
And he hid it from his wife for 2 decades.
20 years. And it wasn't the math he was afraid of. He was terrified of what the math said about him as a husband. He was supposed to, quote-unquote, have a plan.
So he just stayed willfully blind to protect his identity.
But the turning point is what's vital here. It wasn't an advisor who broke the cycle. It was his wife. She sensed his avoidance and just asked, "What are you avoiding?"
And he almost deflected again. Habit almost won.
Yeah, but the exhaustion finally outweighed the fear. He admitted he had no idea where they stood. He braced for his identity to shatter.
But the reality of coming clean is rarely as bad as the catastrophe we invent in our heads. Openness actually reduces conflict.
Because they sat down, looked at reality together, and realized the gaps were manageable. He expanded his cognitive bandwidth just by having a partner.
Which brings us to the cure. How do we actually dismantle this architecture of secrecy?
Well, the literature is super clear on the first step, unlinking net worth from self-worth.
It's that Warren Buffett concept, right?
Yeah, price is what you pay, value is what you get. The number in your account is just a price, a piece of historical data. It is not your value as a human.
That is so important. A financial mistake is just a data point, not a verdict on your character.
Right. And to actually practice that, the sources offer some really practical steps. My favorite is the half-second pause.
Oh, I love this one. It interrupts the automatic behavior.
Exactly. Before the lie even leaves your mouth, before you say it was on sale, you take a half-second pause. You literally just name the feeling in your head.
Like, I feel the urge to deflect right now because I feel embarrassed.
Yes, that tiny interruption steps you out of that scarcity bandwidth. It puts your rational brain back in control.
And then you can replace the shame talk with curiosity talk.
Right. Instead of saying, I'm so bad with money, you say, I wonder why I made that impulse buy today.
Curiosity opens the door. Shame just slams it shut.
There's also this great physical exercise. You take a piece of paper.
Oh, the self-worth versus net worth exercise.
Yeah. You write self-worth on one side and list your traits, your humor, your loyalty. Then you write net worth on the other and list your balances.
Seeing them physically separated on the page forces your brain to realize they are two totally unrelated ledgers.
It's so simple, but so effective. But the real game changer is establishing a weekly 5-minute zero-judgment check-in.
This is where the story of Sarah comes in.
Yeah. Sarah was 29, out with her boyfriend, projecting that totally successful young professional vibe, and her card declined at the table.
That is the ultimate nightmare scenario when you're trying to project stability.
Complete nightmare. And she could have lied, blamed a fraud alert, blamed the bank, but she took the pause. She offered total vulnerability and admitted she was struggling.
And the world didn't end.
Right. He didn't judge her. He just paid the bill and helped her map out a plan. And now they do a weekly check-in. Her finances aren't perfect, but the avoidance is just gone.
It reminds me of James from the research. He started a 20-minute monthly check-in, and his big victory wasn't becoming a millionaire overnight.
What was it?
He described it as the slow disappearance of dread.
The slow disappearance of dread.
Wow, that is such a grounded goal.
It really is. And it highlights the massive difference between privacy and secrecy. Right, because privacy is healthy. You have a right to not broadcast your salary to your neighbors.
Exactly. Privacy is maintaining your autonomy. Secrecy is hiding reality because you fear a penalty. It drains your cognitive labor.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway is that your financial future isn't a destination. It's a direction you choose every day.
Honesty is a muscle. You have to practice it, even if it starts with just being honest with yourself in the mirror.
You cannot fix what you refuse to look at.
Right. So we want to leave you with a final thought to ponder.
Yeah, think about this the next time you feel the urge to minimize a purchase or avoid your app.
Imagine just for a moment that your bank statement was accidentally published for all your friends to see tomorrow.
A terrifying thought.
Truly. But in that scenario, what are you most afraid they would assume about who you are rather than what you have?
Wow.
And how is protecting that false image secretly costing you today?